Aloha, my name is Ben Kaneaiakala of Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. Welcome, and thank you for joining me in discussing and talking about step 3 out of the 12 and 12, where we're discussing making a decision to turn my thinking and my behaviors over to this higher power, or this God as I understand Him. And so in part 1, we're now talking about part 2 today, and I'm just going to continue reading out of the 12 and 12 on step 3 and put a little, and I'm putting my take on what I'm reading, and addressing not so much a addiction of alcoholism or drug addiction, but more in regards to the addiction of our thinking. So when you hear me sharing about addiction or about things that are going on, I'm relating it to the addiction of our thinking, or the thinking addiction, and how we are obsessed and stuck in thought, and how these repetitive thoughts of our past are running our lives, and how we think that we are the ones running our lives, when in actuality our thinking, or who we think ourself is truly, or the ego is actually running our lives, and we're actually slaves to that excessive and compulsive and useless thinking. So when I'm talking about making a decision to turn over our thinking and our behaviors over to this care of God, steps 1 and 2 come into play in helping me make a decision about, do I want to continue in the unmanageability of my thinking and my behaviors, or do I want to try another way? And so we have tools in the program. We have resources all around us to help us with this. And so this step of making a decision isn't a step that we just make one time and I come to this place of, okay, I'm gonna surrender. But this is truly a practice. This making a decision is truly a practice that we need to do in every moment, in every situation, in every circumstance, to turn it over. To turn it over to this higher power that I've or this God that of my understanding, or this being, or this presence, or whatever it is that your higher power is, or power greater than yourself is. It's turning that over and making that decision to surrender. And so the reading that we're going to go into is going to continue elaborating and discussing this very point. So we left off on page 35, and it says, to every worldly and practical minded beginner, or, if this is new to you, or you're not so new to this, the beginner isn't a bad word. It isn't you're just a beginner. If we live in the moment, and we live in the present moment, we're all beginners. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the journey, we're all beginners, This step looks hard. The step of making a decision to turn my thinking and my behaviors over to a God of my understanding. This step looks hard, even impossible. No matter how much one wishes to try, exactly how can he turn his own will and his own life over to the care of whatever God he thinks there is? Fortunately, we who have tried it, and with equal misgivings, can testify that anyone at all, can begin to do it. We can further add that a beginning, even the smallest, is all that is needed. Once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock and have the door ever so slightly open, we find that we can always open it some more. So no matter what's going on, that key of willingness to be able to be willing to just open the door just a little bit and let some help in. Allow the resources that we have that are around us to help us, So though self-will, or our thinking, because that's self-will, our thinking equals self-will. So though self-will may slam it shut again, as it frequently does, it will always respond the moment we again pick up the key of willingness. And so in this paragraph, that's what they're talking about the battle between me turning it over to something or somebody or something else and asking for help, to me thinking that I know what's best for me, and or the ego knows what's best for me, and I'm just gonna continue doing it the way that I've always done it, and that's just the way it's gonna be. We're just gonna keep it that way. You know what I mean? And so it's that battle. Do I want to stay in the problem? Do I want to reach out for some solution? Um, that's a decision that we have to constantly make all day long, every day. This isn't a one-time decision. This is a practice. Yeah? So in the next paragraph, maybe this all sounds mysterious and remote. Something like Einstein's theory of relativity or a proposition in nuclear physics. It isn't at all. Let's look how practical it actually is. Every man, woman who has joined the program or asked for help intends to stick it out, has, without realizing it, made a beginning on step 3. Isn't it true that in all matters touching upon our thinking, each of them have decided to turn his or her own life over to the care, protection, and guidance of the help that we're trying to get? Already a willingness has been achieved to cast out one's own will and one's own ideas about the problem that we're having in favor of those suggested by the people that we're reaching out to, or by the 12-step program, by AANA, or whatever resources that you have. Any willing newcomer feels sure that the program is the only safe harbor for the foundering vessel he has become. Now, if this is not turning one's will and life over to a newfound providence, then what is it? And this is again, they're just reemphasizing how important it is for us to just be open-minded. And the fact that we've even made a attempt at trying to ask for help is already willing. Is already willingness. It's a beginning. It's the start of hopefully something new happening, a awakening of some sort. And there's nothing like good old pain and suffering to bring that kind of awakening or awareness to our lives. That whatever consequences or circumstances or unmanageable thinking and behaviors that we're experiencing of stress, anxiety, alcoholism, drug addiction, sexual addiction, gambling, eating disorder, whatever the pain and suffering that we're creating within our thinking and our behaviors, the fact that we're actually asking for help is the beginning. And it's that same action of asking for help that we need to do every day, all the time. So when we make a decision to turn our thinking and our behaviors over to this care of God, we're literally surrendering ourselves to this higher power, or to this new way of life, or to the therapist, or to the sponsor, or to a mentor, or a spiritual teacher, or whoever it might be, or a combination of them all. All of those things that I just mentioned as far as resources are still a part of my life. You know, I still go to 5 meetings a week. I'm involved in a step study. I'm sponsoring other men. I have a sponsor that I work with. I practice prayer and meditation all the time. I go to therapy and continue practicing being present. So that involvement, that being plugged in that way, has to become a way of living. As they say in the program, a design for living. It needs to become something that I do automatically, as if I'm breathing air and eating food, those types of things. That's the kind of design for living this practice has to be. Steps 1, 2, and 3, you know? And that's the type of stuff that we're faced with in deciding every day that we're here on earth, and every moment. And every moment that we can make that decision and just come back to presence and come back to being, brings about space, brings about an opportunity for change. So I just want to thank you. We're going to stop there. And in my next part 3, we'll go into a couple more paragraphs on step 3. I hope this is helpful for you as we continue to read and go on this journey of reading and me sharing my experiences about what we're reading. And I hope it sparks discussion in you or in your friends or with your partners or whoever it might be, that my word isn't the only word or way, but at least this brings up an opportunity to look, you know. And I want to thank all of you for continuing to support us and subscribing to us here on YouTube and following us on all of our social media platforms. Again, we're grateful and thank you so much for your support. Mahalo.